Billionaire Alexander Carter, known for his cold heart and towering empire, never imagined that a single moment could change his life. But when a ragged boy presented him with a drawing of his opulent home, something stirred within him. What if this boy knew more than just his house? What if he held the key to a missing piece of Alexander's past? You won't believe the surprise that follows. But this isn't just a story about a beggar boy. It's about a secret that will haunt Alexander for the rest of his life. Trust me, you can't even imagine how this story ends. On a cold, gloomy afternoon, billionaire Alexander Carter stopped his car at a traffic light and saw a small, ragged boy standing by the curb. Before we begin this episode, my dear friends, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell icon to receive notifications of our new episodes. We say we are different, our stories are different, and our tales are different. "Sir, please buy my drawing," the boy said, holding out a crumpled piece of paper. "I'm very hungry." Alexander Carter was the kind of man everyone feared. A man of 45, one of the wealthiest men in the city, owned skyscrapers, and his name echoed in boardrooms across the country. But despite his immense wealth, he had no family, no real friends, and his heart had grown cold long ago. His life was business, and he thrived on control, power, and money. But emotions, as he often told himself, were for the weak. On that fateful day, Alexander was driving home from another high-profile meeting that had gone exactly as planned. He had it all: a sprawling mansion on the outskirts of the city, luxury cars, private jets, and a world at his beck and call. As his sleek black car approached the traffic light, a small voice pierced his thoughts. He heard it say, "Sir, please buy my drawing, I'm so hungry." He glanced aside and saw a boy no more than 7 or 8 years old. The child was dressed in oversized, worn clothes. His face was pale and he looked hungry. In his small hand he held a single piece of paper. Alexander's first instinct was to ignore the boy. He was used to beggars, to the needy, to those seeking alms. In his mind, the story was always the same: someone else's burden, someone else's failure. But something in the boy's eyes stopped him. He rolled down his window and gestured for the child to come closer. The boy approached the car. He held up the paper and Alexander took it in his hands. What Alexander saw was no simple child's scribble. The drawing was rudimentary yet striking. It depicted a magnificent palace, a palace that looked eerily familiar. Alexander's hands trembled slightly as his eyes scanned the details. It wasn't just any palace, it was his own. The sprawling gardens, the tall windows, the fountain in the courtyard, everything was there, drawn with the precision of a child who didn't know the palace. But that wasn't what shocked Alexander. What shocked him was that there were two people standing in front of the palace in the drawing. A tall man in a black suit, and beside him, a small boy holding his hand. Alexander's heart pounded, and his eyes widened as he realized that the man in the drawing was undoubtedly himself. But how? How could this beggar child know such intimate details about his life? About his home? Who was this boy? Alexander was genuinely shocked and speechless. Finally, he managed to ask, "Where did you learn to draw this?" The boy looked down and said quietly, "I don't know, sir. It's just something I sometimes see in my head. My mother always said I had a good imagination." "Where is your mother?" Alexander asked. The boy's eyes were filled with sadness. "My mother died last year." "I have no one now, sir. I just wanted to sell my drawing to buy something to eat." Alexander felt an unusual tightness in his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. Was it pity? No, not just pity, a strange feeling. He should have just driven away, thrown the drawing aside, and moved on with his life. But something stopped him. He reached into his wallet, pulled out a new banknote and handed it to the boy, saying, "Take this. It's enough for food." The boy's eyes lit up, but he shook his head and said, "I can't take this for free, sir. You must keep the drawing." Alexander stared at the boy for a long moment, then placed the drawing on the seat beside him. The boy smiled gratefully as he took the money. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." Before Alexander could say anything else, the traffic light turned green and the cars behind him began honking. He drove away, watching the boy in his rearview mirror. But as he hurried away, the drawing remained etched in his mind. It was too strange to ignore, too poignant to forget. That night, Alexander sat in his spacious living room and placed the drawing on the table before him. He couldn't shake the feeling that the boy's drawing was more than just a coincidence. There was something deeply unsettling about it. How could the child depict his life with such precision? The more he gazed at it, the more the details seemed to come alive. The palace, the man, the boy, all memories surfaced, memories he had buried deep long ago. Alexander's childhood hadn't been ordinary. He had grown up in poverty, and he himself had been that same hungry child. His mother had died young, and his father had disappeared, abandoning him. Alexander had struggled desperately to escape that life, to build his empire, and to leave the past behind. But now, looking at the drawing, all those memories came flooding back. For the next few days, Alexander thought of nothing but that drawing. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the palace, the man, the boy. He felt he had to find the boy again to understand the strange feeling he had. But the city was vast, and finding a single beggar in a sea of people was impossible. Days turned into weeks, and the boy still haunted him. His obsession with finding the boy grew, and he began to suffer at work. He was distracted, agitated, and unusually emotional. He stopped attending meetings, and rumors about him began to circulate. Then, one day, as he was leaving his office, Alexander saw him. The same boy was standing in the same corner where they had met before. This time he didn't hesitate and approached the boy. "You," Alexander said, kneeling to meet the child's eyes. "I want to talk to you." The boy looked at him, surprised but not afraid. "Is everything all right, sir?" Alexander took a deep breath. "This drawing you gave me, how did you know? How did you know about the palace, about the man, about me?" The boy seemed confused. "I don't know, sir, I told you. It's just something I see in my head and I don't know why." Alexander's heart skipped a beat. "What's your name?" the boy answered hesitantly. "Ethan," Alexander said. "Ethan, do you have somewhere to go? What family?" Ethan shook his head. "No, sir, I've been alone for a while." Without hesitation, Alexander made a startling decision. "Where to, sir?" "To my house. I think we're connected in some way and I need to find out why." When Alexander brought Ethan to his mansion, the staff were stunned. In all their years working for him, Alexander had never shown such kindness to anyone, let alone a street child. But Alexander felt something deeper, something beyond mere charity. He had to understand the boy and his strange ability. Days passed, and as Ethan settled into Alexander's home, more and more strange things began to happen. The boy was drawn to certain rooms in the mansion, rooms Alexander himself rarely entered. Ethan would often stare at the walls or the old furniture as if they held hidden meanings. Then one night Ethan asked an unthinkable question. "Sir," he asked hesitantly, "what's the story of the boy who used to live here?" Alexander froze. "There was indeed a boy who lived in the manor years ago," Alexander said, puzzled. "Yes, many years ago." "How could Ethan know?" Alexander asked, his voice strained. "Which boy?" Ethan asked, his eyes distant as if recalling the boy who used to play in the gardens. He was happy here until he wasn't anymore. A flurry of memories raced through Alexander's mind. There was a boy, his son from a past he was trying to forget, a past so long ago. His son had died tragically as a young child, but no one knew about it. Alexander had kept that part of his life a secret, even from his closest associates. The pain was intense, but Ethan's words brought everything back together. Grief, loss, guilt. He had buried it all deep and focused on building his empire to forget the pain. But now it seemed the past had found its way back to him through a child who shouldn't know any of it. Alexander could no longer deny the truth. Ethan's uncanny knowledge of the palace and his accurate drawings were unnatural, undeniable. He took Ethan's hand and led him to the old nursery, the room that had remained untouched since his son's death. When he entered, Ethan's eyes widened and he smiled gently. Then, in a whisper, he said, "This was his room. He used to sit here by the window waiting for you to come home." Alexander's breath caught in his throat. He had often been absent during his son's short life. He had been preoccupied with his work and the pursuit of wealth. He had believed there was still time, but fate hadn't granted him enough. Tears welled in Alexander's eyes as he knelt beside Ethan. Through his sobs, he asked, "How do you know all this?" Alexander's eyes filled with tears as he knelt beside Ethan. Through his sobs, he asked, "How do you know all this?" Ethan looked up at him with his own poignant eyes and said, "I don't know. I just feel it." Then, in a moment of realization, Alexander understood that Ethan wasn't just an ordinary child. He was a messenger, a reminder of the son he had lost and the love he had abandoned in his pursuit of wealth. The boy in the drawing wasn't just a random figure. It was Alexander's own son reaching out to him from another world, reaching out through Ethan. In the weeks that followed, he adopted Ethan, giving the boy a home and a family he had never known. But more importantly, Alexander found something he had long lost: his heart. The mansion, once a cold symbol of his wealth, became a home filled with laughter and love. Ethan's presence healed the wounds Alexander had carried for so long. In the end, it wasn't the drawing of the boy that had changed Alexander's life, but the love he had rediscovered in a child who had brought him back to life. He found the past, and despite the pain, he found a way to reconcile with the present. Alexander, the cold-hearted billionaire, learned that true wealth lies not in money or power, but in the connections we make and the love we give. And now, my dear friends, we have reached the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Stay well. Don't forget to like the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay well. Goodbye.